A very good morning, everyone. My name is Abhilash Gopalakrishnan, and I have spent more than 2 decades in architecture and design of software systems. Today, we are discussing RESTful API. We are, as a whole, seeing an explosion of what we call API economy, and I thought it would be great to have a deep dive into RESTful API and try to see how we can benefit from it. Hope you will enjoy it. A lot of us are challenged by the need for scaling, combining whatever systems we have been having, buying, purchasing, and kind of integrating them. How can I reduce my inventory costs? How can we be able to get to market faster? Several thought processes. Combined with this, obviously, the new industry considerations like Industry 4.0, how are we going to um, benefit from cyber physical systems or distributed systems like the cloud, Internet of Things, and blockchain. All of these obviously require a different mindset, and that is where we are seeing a whole set of APIs everywhere. And underlying all this is one great architecture of the World Wide Web. We are seeing distributed architectures coming back for us, enabling scale at the same time, also posing new challenges. At the same time, it's important for us to understand World Wide Web into further detail so that we can really benefit from what is ongoing. When we go further into the World Wide Web, we will try to analyze what Sir Tim Berners-Lee had stated. Web's major goal was to be shared information space through which people and machines could communicate. So it is one of the main input here is to consider the fact that both people and machines were both considered in the from the very beginning of the web architecture. This is further more detailed enlightenment for us has come in the form of Roy Fielding's dissertation, where he discusses the several architecture considerations of the World Wide Web and comes up with RESTful architecture as a style. And the key elements of Rust obviously it relies on resource oriented style where resource is addressed using a URL. HTTP, the stateless protocol, being the protocol behind the World Wide Web, and then hypermedia as well. So let us look into it in further finer detail and see the RESTful style what Roy Fielding discussed in detail. So when we use a web browser in the beginning, when we see there is a GET request being posted over HTTP 1.1, and then the content is also specified on which the web server serves the and responds back with a response saying 200 OK and provides an HTML page as per what was specified in the content type. So let us go further into the representation of state transfer. So one of the point is World Wide Web is stateless, and we are going to resource-oriented forms, or our model, our object, real-world object is represented as a resource. So here we are taking the case of an example like an order, and in Trustbox.com when we go, order is a resource, and we are representing order with different forms. So this is the fundamental principle. So every real world object is represented as a resource, and then modifications to it is done using HTTP verbs, and the client is responsible for handling the state, and through the RESTful services, which are possibly handled using JSON or any of the format, we provide information regarding the state. So when we are looking at service-oriented architectures, SOAP is kind of an approach where we create a wrapper or an envelope with whatever information we have and serve it as an XML, and on the other side we capture the information and then pursue the task. Whereas resource orientation looks at a real world object modeled as a resource. For example, we have an order on a professional. Let us look at a case where we have a professional website like LinkedIn capturing, or a job website which is capturing our details one by one using a wizard like process, where first step is the name and age, then you click next and it goes to the educational aspects, and then you provide that information. Education is captured, and then it goes to experience collection, and once all these three are completed, we can say the profile is complete. So when we look at Rust-based architectures, we would see the concept being pursued in this form. Like first, at the first step, basic information capture. We have a post. So the HTTP where post is used, and then the resource is created, and then after that, education capture and experience capture are done using updates, which are using the put web HTTP verb. So this is an example of a workflow that can be described using REST, but this is just the tip of the iceberg when we look at REST and the HTTP architecture. So let us look further detail into how does client kind of manage the states. Let us remember that we are going to use multiple HTTP verbs from post, get, put, and delete. Get is used when we are going to present the information, whereas post is for creating the resource, and put is for update, and delete rarely used for deletion of the resource as well. So here we have the case what we have just previously discussed. The profile is created on the save the profile of the database. So this is first step. You see we update the name and age in the client, which is a browser, and then it goes to the service boundary, and then you see it is finally translated into a post request with the URI profile, and it goes to and this is kind of providing. So here in the JSON format we are providing the details, and then the profile is getting created behind the scenes. It hits the web server and somewhere the service, and then on the database, and the database at the database the identifier, the ID for the profile is getting, the profile ID is getting created. And what happens when the service is responding over the web server, it will using inside the JSON format also provide details with the newly created profile ID. So the response comes in HTTP 1.1 with a status code 200, which means OK, and then additionally with the JSON, which also provides the ID. So now, like what we discussed, the profile ID could be used by the put request, which can do the next step regarding updating the experience and educational details and so on. Interestingly, this representation as per REST doesn't talk about the format, because you can use multiple formats. It could be JSON, XML, HTTP, Atom, or many of the different formats which could be used to exploit and take advantage. Because all you require is when we are decoding the information, we should have the right kind of parser to decode the information. That's all. So, how could we build RESTful services? That is obviously a very important question. So, there are multiple ways of building RESTful services, and there are different stacks available. So you can look at it from, say, Microsoft-based technologies like .NET using ASP.NET Web API. We can deliver RESTful APIs, or as, open technologies like Python Flask-based approaches, where JSON is used again as a format, and JavaScript-based approaches where Node.js as the service approach. And then we can also see similar approaches using C++, like applying thrift kind of stacks. Even something which resembles this could be an approach using, say, Google Protocol Buffer as a format or encoding, using which you can pass the data together with C++. So there are different stacks available. We could use them to the benefit, and we could also apply them with the capabilities that are available in internet connected devices as well. So the Rust is kind of an approach which could fit into both cloud-based designs as well as Internet of Things designs. One example, what we have done is we have developed a retail store demo using Python, Flask, and Mongo as a database, and using Node.js, and also a front end. So you will see that this is capable to create products. So you can use a Postman to test the capability to create products, and when you create a product, the service gets called, and you are passing the product related information as JSON. So this is and then the response from the service comes back saying 201 created, and with the details of detailed ID and things like that, so that you can operate further on the next step. So the RESTful services renders provides us back with the details of the update or the creation, and then we can go ahead to the next step. So get product list is a endpoint which allows us to get all the, so if once you have logged in using a post using authentication, and if it is authentication is successful, you could navigate to home, and then it leads to leading products, which leads to get API leading to the products list. So if you go to the GitHub URL, ABH for Git retail store Python Mongo service, you can play around with it and see how the RESTful service is implemented, and so on. And we have also a video demonstrating the same thing in detail. So, how do we really apply this, and how do we learn? What all things should I learn as an application developer or as an embedded developer? So, two things. Obviously, we are looking forward to enabling scaling, because HTTP as a protocol is stateless, and there is an advantage of being stateless, so that there is no need for us. So we are not attached to any server in particular, so we can move between multiple servers. This provides a high scaling capability and enables us to distribute the system more flexibly. And on the Internet of Things or the embedded system side, it's more about enabling connected systems. So one of the basics that we have noticed is very important to understand is the RESTful web services itself, using JSON, and particularly the API design, and how well we could transition between one API to the other, including versioning and the modeling using a resource-oriented approach. So this is one of the main cornerstones of the entire architecture around the web. And then, as a connected system perspective, Internet of Things and embedded systems, you will obviously be interested in COAP, Constrained Object Access Protocol, which is RESTful in nature, and also kind of protocols like MQTT, and formats like Google Protocol Buffer, so that you could collect the data from a device using a gateway, and then pass it on to the web. On the next level, obviously, what is very important is to understand standards like WebSockets, which could be used to integrate several different devices and also receive notifications to the client, and similar web standards which allows us to scale and take real advantage of the protocols and the support behind the cloud systems or the internet-based systems. And on the top, what is a big differentiator is the hypermedia and the semantic web, which will allow us to connect most of this information and augment the most of the information with several tags or ontologies. Thereby, we can have much more detailed context of our system, which kind of enables machine intensive artificial intelligence and also better search and similar opportunities which will come. So this is a huge, if we understand all these standards, most of these standards, and apply them, obviously there is a huge potential of innovation in intelligent connected systems, which is a new world opening in front of us. Here are the references. Particularly, I would suggest a strong reading of Roy Fielding's dissertation thesis, Architecture Styles and Design of Network-Based Software Architectures, Rust in Practice, Hypermedia and Systems Architecture, which kind of set the stage for most of this, and some of the conference papers which we have done. Thank you for your kind attention and have a great day.